cells with more sugar. The cells are already full of sugar and they're getting stuck. So after a while, that doesn't work at all either. So what is you go back to the doctor, say, oh, my blood sugar's going up here. Oh, you need another drug. So you get another drug. So you're making even more insulin to stuff more sugar into those cells. And then you go back to the doctor and you have fatty liver disease because you stuff so much sugar into those cells. They're dying. They're dying from toxicity. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And you're getting more MOPS and more MOPS and more drugs to try and get the blood sugar down. What's the answer? What's the answer? Like, everybody already knows the answer. And everybody out there is screaming up. I can hear you all screaming this. You're going, turn off the water, idiot. And that's all you have to do is turn off the water. That's all you had to do. If the plumber would have said, turn off the water, you would have never had to get a mop.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. We have Dr. Scott Saunders and myself, Leslie Prince. You know what? I don't know if Joel will be on today. He may. I know they are traveling and working and at a conference, so I'm not sure that he'll be on today, but we're excited that you guys are here. We have been getting record number of people on these webinars, and so I'm just going to tell you a little something that hasn't been released yet. There is a chance we may do another webinar, not about type 2 specifically, but maybe about heart health. That's the rumor on the street, just letting you know. And you're probably going to get Dr. Saunders and I for that webinar too. You never know. Could happen. It could happen. I'm hoping it does. But we've had so much feedback about our Healthy Heart product as well and our solution kit. And so we make
so many questions and
yes. Yes.
Okay. Probably have to do another webinar.
Yeah, probably gonna have to. But this one has been so good. And I just love this webinar because we are learning so much every week. I'm getting emails from a lot of you who are just so thankful. And I'm sharing your stories with our team. And it's so motivating and encouraging to everybody that's working every day to make sure that we're helping you. And so thank you guys for that. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for meeting with me and sharing your stories. They're so powerful. And we're just excited that we get to help you reverse your type 2. That's why we're here. And so yes, we come here every week, same time. We mostly are talking about the diabetes solution kit. So for those of you who are new, you may hear us reference that. We talk about the different phases in this book, eating low carb, what that looks like, etc. And so if you have questions, feel free to post those in the Q&A as we go today on Facebook. You can post in the comments. We'll do our best to answer as many of those as possible. But one of the things that I absolutely love about Dr. Saunders is that he explains things so well. He takes complicated things and makes them simple so that I can understand it. And he's really good at giving us visuals for what's going on in the body. And so today I've actually asked him to do that again. And one of the things that's really funny, some of you who've been on here have heard him talk about the kitchen sink analogy. And I saw a picture today, maybe it was on Facebook. I'm not exactly sure where it was. And there was a guy out in the ocean with a mop trying to mop up his beachfront, and the waves just kept coming back in. And I thought, oh, this is another good visual that we could use. I've heard this story. And so we're going to have Dr. Saunders talk about this a little bit. Oh, I think my internet's getting a little weird, so hopefully it didn't cut out. We're going to talk about what that means. What does this kitchen sink analogy have to do with diabetes, and what is happening in your body when you have type 2? And so I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Saunders. He's going to share, and then we're going to open it up for questions. Before we get started, I'd love a disclaimer, Dr. Saunders.
Okay. So the information that we're giving here is for general information purposes. It's for education, and the education can help you in one way or another. But everything that I recommend may not apply to you specifically. So in order to apply it properly, make sure you have that it is the right thing for you. You may need an expert. You may need help with that to determine if it's right for you. So take the information, for what it is. And remember that you get what you pay for. So, so since you paid so much money to get on this webinar, I'm going to give you your money's worth. So here we have, what is type 2? And I love this analogy. The first time I heard it, I'm like, yeah, that really fits. We eat all the time. And eating all the time is like a constant flow of calories coming into our bodies, and especially sugar. So it's kind of like a kitchen sink. If you turn on the kitchen sink and the water's running and it's going down the drain and everything looks really great and everything's working well, until the drain clogs up. And if the drain's clogged, then your sink starts filling up, and your sink is filling up and it's filling up. And you call the plumber and say, Plumber, Mr. Plumber, my sink is filling up. I think the drain is clogged. And he says, well, try to unclog the drain. I tried and nothing's working. Okay, well, I should be able to come over by tomorrow. And you're like, oh, I don't know if we can last till tomorrow. So because it's really hard to get an appointment, right, with a plumber. So then you're watching the sink, and the sink is just in the kitchen, just filling up and filling up and filling up. And then it starts to overflow, and you get this, the water trickling down, and it's going onto your floor. So you call the plumber. I don't think we can wait till tomorrow. The water's trickling down onto the floor. And he says, well, get a mop and start mopping it up. So you start mopping it up, and you're wringing out the mop, and you're mopping it up and wringing out the mop. And then the water's still coming, and now you're getting more on the floor. There's more coming out, and it's going out into your kitchen, and you call up the plumber and say, Mr. Plumber, we have more water coming out faster than I can mop it up. And he goes, well, duh, get 2 mops. And so you get your wife in there, and she's mopping, and you're wringing out the mop. Your kids are emptying buckets, and you're just mopping up that water as fast as you can, and it's just. It keeps coming out. You tell Mr. Plumber, it keeps coming out. Well, get 3 mops. So now you got your wife and you and a kid out there in the kitchen mopping up that water, and it's just like exasperating to try and do this. And that is exactly like what type 2 diabetes is. You have cells that are filling up with sugar. They're filling up. And then they start overflowing. And when they overflow the sugar, guess what? Your blood sugar goes up. And as your blood sugar goes up, then you go to a doctor. And the doctor says, well, we got to get that blood sugar down. And so we need a mop. So they use something like a drug. What does the drug do? Well, the drug tells your body to make more insulin so you can stuff those cells with more sugar. The cells are already full of sugar and they're getting stuck. So after a while, that doesn't work at all either. So what is you go back to the doctor, say, oh, my blood sugar's going up again. Oh, you need another drug. So you get another drug. So you're making even more insulin to stuff more sugar into those cells. And then you go back to the doctor and you have fatty liver disease because you stuff so much sugar into those cells. They're dying. They're dying from toxicity. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And you're getting more mops and more mops and more drugs to try and get the blood sugar down. What's the answer? What's the answer? Like everybody already knows the answer. And everybody out there is screaming up. I can hear you all screaming this. You're going, turn off the water, idiot. And that's all you have to do is turn off the water. That's all you had to do. If the plumber would have said, turn off the water, you would have never had to get a mop out in the first place. Well, it's the same thing. If you go to your doctor, if the doctor would have said, turn off, quit putting sugar into your body, that's turning off the water, right? You're not putting any more sugar into the cells are full, they're done. So you don't have to dump more sugar into your body, right? And if the doctor would have said that, would you have needed drugs? No, you wouldn't need drugs. You're not getting any, your blood sugar's not going to go up because you're not eating any. So it's really a simple concept of what type 2 is. It's just your sink is overloaded. and it's filling up, and all you have to do is just turn a faucet, turn it off, and that's as simple as it gets. So what is phase one of our program? It's shutting off the faucet. And then you can work on, after you shut off the faucet, then you can work on the clog. What's the clog? Well, it's those cells filled up to the brim with sugar. And so getting the sugar out allows them to open up the channels that let sugar in again, so that you have insulin sensitivity, so things start flowing again, things start working like they're supposed to. And then you can eat sugar. That's phase two. You can start eating other things, and you find out what causes you to get overloaded. And then phase three that's the rest of your life. That's what you do for the rest of your life to keep the amount of water coming into your sink the same amount as is going out. How do you unclog the sink? Well, you can exercise. Exercise is a great way to help unclog the sink. And as you're burning sugar, as you're using up sugar, it'll make your cells more insulin sensitive. The other thing we have is a supplement to be helpful. Now, the only reason I mention this, I hardly ever mention the supplement except for this one reason, and that is it has a purpose, and the purpose is to help you to be more sensitive to the insulin that you have. It's kind of like adding Drano to the sink to help it get unclogged more. So yeah, some's going down the sink, but you can let a lot more go down if you add the Drano in there, right, to the sink. In that sense, the medication, the supplement is because I did a lot of research, a lot of tests on people, and found they're low in chromium, vanadium, vitamin D, selenium. We also had vitamin K in there. And so this is just a few things that are very common deficiencies that are needed. All of these are needed for proper blood sugar use. So it's to help open up the drain. Don't think that that's the answer to your problem. It's not. It doesn't make your blood sugar go down. We've had a lot of people call and say, I've been on the Synachroma for a month now and my blood sugar's the same. Well, it didn't unclog the sink, and you're still eating sugar. You still have to do phase one. So start with phase one. That's just shutting off the faucet. Don't put any carbs in your body. It's a really simple program, and it works well, as many out there can tell you.
Why is this program so different from what your traditional medical doctors are saying when they first give a type 2 diagnosis?
Because the teaching in medical school is the drugs first, anything else second. The option of lifestyle, we rarely talk about it, but when it is talked about, it's like, well, nobody wants to do that. So just give them a drug. You're wasting your breath if you're telling people how to eat, or to change their diet, or to change their lifestyle. So don't waste your breath, because you only have 10 minutes. That's just enough time to give a prescription. So we're taught that, and that's the way doctors think, because that's how the practice works.
Interesting. And one thing that we get a lot of emails about are people concerned with their side effects of the various medicines that they're taking. And that's often why they want to try something different. And so that's why people have been so motivated to do this as well. In fact, I just saw Velo and Barbie just said hi, they're on, and they have an amazing story, just great success. How are you guys doing now? Everyone is so different, just like Dr. Saunders said, but these guys changed. They did the diabetes solution kit hardcore and changed rapidly. Within 3 weeks, they were different people. So those are really fun stories, but that's not the case for everybody. How long does this program usually take, Dr. Saunders, or what would you say if someone was to ask that question?
Well, it depends on how hardcore you are on the program. So those who go on a very low carbohydrate diet and, 10 grams a day instead of 20 grams a day, it's going to work a lot faster. Plus, you have to take into account how long you've had it. I mean, if your cells are mostly full and you're insulin resistant, it's not going to take as long as if they're all full and you're really insulin resistant. So I've had people who've had insulin levels, in the 30s, 40s, 60s. I had some at over 100 once. And a normal insulin level is like 5 on a fasting specimen. So it depends on where you are. It could take anywhere from days to months. And I've had people take months.
A good question came in from Mary. Now, I know, Dr. Saunders, you have done vegan. Every year, Dr. Saunders typically takes on some diet or challenge or tries to really focus in on a certain way of eating, just to see how it feels and give us feedback and to know for his patients. And one year I know it was vegan, right? It was completely vegan. But Mary is asking, what are ways to lower her glucose number? She's currently on a plant-based diet and juicing raw carrots daily to combat cancer.
Okay. Well, carrot juice is something that's going to have a lot of carbohydrates in it. And the way that works is if you don't eat any fat at all, you can still do quite a lot of carbohydrates. So the diabetes solution kit, having a ketogenic diet, is for general use, and for most people that's fine, because it's an easy way to do it. It's easy to go ketogenic. It's easy to shut off the carbohydrates. But there's not the only option. The other option, or one other option, is to shut off the fats. And so people who have done like the Dean Ornish diet or the McDougall diet or the Esselstyn diet, and those are all vegan diets, low fat, like no fat, like they don't even allow avocados. So it's really like you have to be really like limited on the fat, because fat makes you resistant to insulin. So you can eat quite a lot of carbs, and if you have a very low fat diet, it does work.
All right, taking notes here about a few things. Okay, I have another question here from Onik. I may not be saying that right, but I have been taking 20 milligrams of steroids once a week since last April, and my blood test A1C is 7.2. Will using the Synchromic capsules daily help decrease my chances of getting diabetes? I guess we kind of talked about that, but
a once a week steroid, once a week, okay. So cortisol is something that makes you insulin resistant, and while you're taking cortisol, it's not even worth measuring your blood sugar. It's not even worth looking at. Your hemoglobin A1C is going to be high. There's nothing you can do about that, and there's nothing you should do about that. Because research shows that people in the hospital, the better they try to control the sugar, the more deaths they have, the worse people get, or the more likely they are to die from the treatment, getting the blood sugar down. So it's not something you should worry about as far as what your blood sugar is. On the other hand, the way to handle that is to have a very low carbohydrate diet, like just don't eat any at all.
Okay. Let me see here. Steve says, how can you increase the amount of insulin that your pancreas is putting out when you are not putting out enough insulin?
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. So there are ways to handle that. There's two ways to handle that. One is, if you're making some insulin but not enough, then eat a very low carbohydrate diet. And what will happen is you'll lose weight. You'll be pretty thin, because insulin is required to make fat on your fat cells. So if you have low insulin, you're not going to make fat very easily. And then just decrease your carb count until you get to normal blood sugar levels. And that's a good way to handle that. The other way is, like you said, how you increase your insulin. Well, most of the medications, not metformin, but the other ones like sulfonylureas, incretins, most of the medications besides metformin do tell your pancreas to make more insulin. So that's another way. Something that I do when I don't give the drugs, I don't use medications for that. When people have that, I put them on a very low carbohydrate diet, and then I do a lot of testing to find out if they have autoimmune islet cell disease. So the autoimmune diabetes comes on because there's antibodies against the cells that make insulin. And so if that's the case, then I put them on an autoimmune diet, like an autoimmune paleo diet. And that's been working really well in the past.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll here, guys. I want to know if you're using the diabetes solution kit. That always gives us some good information to see where we're at with the group that's on today. I do have another question. What would you say are the most common diabetic medications that people are usually prescribed?
Oh, I can't do the poll. Only panelists are not allowed to vote, so I couldn't vote. I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, what are the most common diabetic medications that people typically are prescribed?
Oh, almost most people start with metformin because metformin, especially in prediabetes, because metformin doesn't cause hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. Whereas because it blocks your ability to actually use sugar in your mitochondria, so it kind of forces your body to use fat. So that's how it works, and that's why it doesn't cause hypoglycemia. Whereas most of the other ones, sulfonylureas, incretin. These days, I see a lot of people on the Farxiga because the doctor wants them to have the diuresis, the getting rid of the extra water as well. And I've even had people who didn't have diabetes on Farxiga because they want to get rid of extra water. So I don't know. Yeah, there's so many now, and the injections, incretin injections, it's just all over the place.
Okay, this is a really interesting thing. So Tanya is on the webinar. She was here last week, and I actually got to chat with her about her story. She's been helping her husband, her new husband, reverse his type 2. They're the ones that had the Mountain Dew or Diet Mountain Dew in the refrigerator. Yeah, which is so crazy. Okay. Anyway, Tanya is on. She said she just had surgery on her other hand. It's for CMC arthritis, not carpal tunnel. So I'm off work and able to catch these webinars again. Yay. So my husband, Jeff, had a doctor appointment. The doctors, they were unhappy with him for stopping all of his drugs without asking their advice. So disheartening. They say he's not going to get his sensor renewed because the insurance won't pay for it if he's not taking the drugs. We're looking into finding an integrative medical doctor near us. Will they be able to get him the sensor? He's doing the right things. His blood sugar is coming down so slowly. He finally dropped under 100 a couple of times, and he's lost 30 pounds in 4 months.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow. Good work. Yes. And totally worth it. Okay. So the average, just from government statistics, the average diabetic spends $9,000 a year on their diabetes, whether that's from foods or supplements or drugs or whatever, that kind of stuff. So, and if you think of like your sensor as just another out-of-pocket expense, and so yes, when you're off insulin, very often the insurance won't pay for the sensors anymore. But if you can get the doctor to prescribe it anyway, you can pay for them. And I know the one I was looking at Costco, it wasn't the Dexcom. I'm not sure which one it was. It was $85 for a sensor that lasts 2 weeks. So, $160 a month. It's not nothing. That's a significant sum. But if you think about like the cost of the medications that you're off of and how much you're saving on not buying all those carbs and not going out to eat and I'll bet you save more than $160, $170 a month. I don't know, just it's something to consider. Yes, get a prescription, and any doctor can give you a prescription. Your other doctor can give you a prescription, your diabetes doctor, and then you can just pay for it.
And really, is that not kind of sad that you can't get the sensor because you're not taking drugs?
Well, you can't get the rule is that if you have uncontrolled diabetes, type 1 diabetes, you're on insulin, then they say, okay, you need constant management, so you need the CGM. And that's the way they look at it. They're just trying to limit, how are we going to limit our output of having to pay for all these continuous glucose monitors?
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Melinda says, I am on Jardiance. Is it good or bad?
Jardiance, I wouldn't use it. That's all I can say is I wouldn't use it. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I think if you start on phase 1 of the program, Jardiance is the first one to get rid of, and not the first one, but it's like among like the sulfonylureas like glipizide and glyburide and Jardiance. Those should go right away, because those can cause low blood sugars. And if you're not eating carbs and all of a sudden your cells that are full up with sugar start draining out and you become insulin sensitive, and that's causing you to put out extra insulin, you could get hypoglycemic pretty quickly. So I would talk to your doctor, I guess, is the right thing to say about you want to do a diet program, and you're worried about the Jardiance causing hypoglycemia. Can you just use metformin or something? And they might be okay with switching.
All right. Good stuff. Criselda said, I saw an ad about moringa. Would that be helpful along with the Cinachroma, Nervala, turmeric, gut restore, and apple cider vinegar? I also take apple greens every morning.
Okay. Okay. So supplements are not the answer to your problem. Okay. Remember the sink. You can add anything else into your sink. It's still overflowing. So you add Drano into your sink, and I don't know, you put these herbs in, you can pour a moringa juice into it, and you can, whatever you do pouring into your sink is not going to shut off the water to the sink. You're still overflowing, right? So at some point you have to shut off the water. And the way you do that is by doing phase 1 of the program. So yes, any of those are fine. Turmeric is great. It's a great anti-inflammatory. I recommend it a lot for inflammation. We even have we finally got our berberine supplement, and berberine's great. And yes, your blood sugar will go down. And but that's like just taking a bucket full out of the sink. It's not really getting it unclogged. You still have to get it unclogged at some point and shut off the water. So don't look at those supplements as, oh, this is the answer. It's not the answer. The answer is do phase 1 of the program.
Yes. And one thing we didn't mention is that if you do not have this, which it looks like about 50% of you are using this, if you want more information about this, you can find it at bartonwebinar.com. You can also use code webinar25 to save 25%. It's under $20, guys, for the digital version of this. So you can get it right away today. It'd be emailed to you. And that's a great way to get started. If you want the hard copy, you can do that as well. They'll ship that to you. But
for an extra cost.
Yes. Thank you.
Gotta tell people that. People think, oh, only $20 for the print. So you hold up a print copy and say it's only $20. Well, actually.
Yes. The digital version is.
Yeah.
But such good information, guys. And this is what people are using that are having the success. So bartonwebinar.com, check it out. And the code again is webinar25. I will post that as well. Okay, more questions coming in. Alfreda says, I'm Am I cured of diabetes if my A1C is 6.5 without medication? For example, metformin, and she's been off for 3 months.
Oh, good. Good for you. Okay. 6.5 is actually the line of diabetes. So if you were 6.4, you could say you're cured of diabetes, but you're not really. You look at it with type 2, you can't say yes or no. Type 1, you can say yes or no. Either you're making insulin or you're not making insulin. It's a yes or no question with type 1 diabetes. But type 2 diabetes is a scale. Where are you on the scale? Well, 6.5, that's like borderline in the diabetes range, technically. 6.4, you're not diabetes. But that's just a little different. It's not really, your blood sugars have dropped down a little bit. Okay, if you were, 5.0, then you could say, absolutely, you don't even have diabetes and not pre-diabetes and nothing, you're not even close. But still, you're just way lower on the scale. So think of type 2 as a scale, not a yes or no question.
Okay, so Tanya, the one whose husband's doctor was upset with him about stopping his meds, just said that his C-peptide was above the normal range. And his diabetes doctor doesn't want to see him again because he isn't following his advice.
Wow. Okay, great. C-peptide above the normal range means his pancreas is putting out too much insulin. So that's a lot of insulin. You definitely don't want to inject insulin. You definitely don't want to take any medications that cause you to make more insulin. So in this case, what you're doing by being on phase 1, losing weight, cutting out the carbs, shutting off that faucet so you're not overflowing the sink, that's the right thing to do.
Yes. All right. Let's see. Jeffrey says, I'm a firm believer in Synachroma as it's lowered my A1C. I also take a keto gummy, which suppresses my appetite. So basically, I have not changed my diet, but I'm eating half the portions, including sweets, flour, and pasta. I'm losing weight, and I believe it's because of the 4 days a week of exercise. Do you agree?
Oh, yes. Good for you. No. Okay. Keep doing what you're doing no matter what I say, all right? But I'm just going to tell you the statistics of it. Exercise does not cause you to lose weight except for one way, and that is you're not as hungry. You make more endorphins and you have less hunger. You're not snacking as much, for example. And that's been proven in multiple studies that the exercise itself, think about it this way. How much exercise does it take to burn 1 pound of fat? Just 1 pound. I was in a CrossFit class a while back, and the instructor said, go and burn 100 calories on the rowing machine. I'm like, 100 calories, that's an apple, that's nothing. So I sat down on the rowing machine. I'm pulling. I'm getting tired. I'm looking, how much have I burned? Oh, 10 calories? No way. It's crazy how much exercise it takes to burn calories. So 1 pound of fat, you have to run a marathon. All right. You have to run a full marathon. So if you want to burn 1 pound of fat a day, that's a full marathon every single day. Obviously, I guess there are people that do that. But they have to eat like 5,000 calories to keep up with that. So why do I think you're losing weight? Because you're eating less. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's the other one that we didn't. So we talked about the low carb diet. That's the diabetes solution kit. Then we talked about the low fat diet. That's the vegan person that wanted to know, if I'm juicing carrots, how do I drop my hemoglobin A1C? Another way is just eating less. That works. And that's another thing. And then another way is fasting. So all of those are excellent ways to drain to unclog the sink and drain all the extra water out of your sink.
All right, here's some people who have unclogged and drained well. Velo and Barbie said that they are doing great. If they can do it, anyone can. Nothing like this program that works so well. We typically go from phase 3 back to phase 1 for a week or 2, and they also fast, which helps even more. And that's something to talk a little bit about too, is now that they know what works. If they get themselves into trouble a little bit, they come back to phase one. Also, as you go through the different phases, you get to reintroduce other foods and see how your body responds to it, which is the beauty of it. It doesn't mean you have to stop eating certain things forever. You're just going to find out what works best for you. So just to encourage you there. And then Dan, go ahead.
I love that. I love that part of the program, that it's so individualized and it can fit into your lifestyle, whoever you are, wherever you are, and whatever you eat anywhere in the world, you can determine what works best for you. And the other thing that they said was going back to phase one. Dang, that's what I do. I do that when I'm out, like Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and all this stuff is going on. I'm going to parties and I'm stacking on whatever's there. And I put on an extra, I don't know, 5-10 pounds. Then I go back to phase one. And for me personally, I do fasting. So I just quit eating for a while until I'm back to my 155 pounds. But yeah, going back to phase one, that's why it's so good, because you can go into phase two and you can go totally off the program and get your hemoglobin A1C back up to 7.5. And then go, okay, I know what to do. And then you just go back to phase one and drop it all down. And you know what? That yo-yo dieting, we were told since the 1970s, oh, yo-yo dieting is really bad for you. Wrong. It's not bad for you. It's actually really, really good for you, because every time you're losing weight, you're burning all the fat, you're making ketones, you're repairing your brain, you're fixing your body. And then when you're eating, you're doing all the damage. And so you have to have a time when you can lose all the weight and burn the fat and make the ketones and repair your body. So go ahead and do yo-yo dieting. It's actually really good for you. Look it up.
Interesting. Who'd have thunk it? All right. Dan says, I've been using the program for 3 months. My sugar was at 300 when I started. Going to my doctor Friday. My sugar is under 100 now. Wish me luck.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Under 100, that's normal.
That is amazing, Dan. That's reason to celebrate. That is amazing. Good for you.
Okay, let's celebrate. Okay, cookies for everyone. Cookies, right. Donuts.
No. We're not going to celebrate that way. We'll figure out another way. That's awesome. Eric says, I got the kit, but fell away from usage over the years, looking to start back up again. You can do it, Eric. You got this. John is congratulating you guys. Oh, you guys are the best. Such a good group on here. Okay, let's keep going through these. Okay, Kathy says, during my phase one, in 2 weeks, one time it was 103. Is that okay?
Well, yeah. Well, 103 is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Good
That's
work.
the goal.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. John daily takes berberine, 1,000 milligrams, chromium picolinate, 500 micrograms, and turmeric with bioperine, 2,600 micrograms. His sugars are from 6.2 to 6.8 consistently. Any thoughts?
Yeah. Don't count on the supplements to lower your blood sugar at all. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is really to assist and make sure you can use blood sugar normally. So, for example, if someone is deficient in selenium, chromium. If someone is deficient in chromium, they will have diabetes even on a regular diet because they can't use sugar well. And they'll have ketosis easily, and they just they won't use sugar for energy properly. So you can get diabetes, insulin resistance, just from having deficiencies. So the purpose for the supplements is to not have that issue so that you can use sugar normally. And then to get your blood sugar down, because 6.8, that's 180, 190. So that's pretty high blood sugar. And so go on phase one, do the 20-gram carb diet and cut out the carbs, shut off that water first. And don't think the supplements are going to fix it.
Okay, again, bartonwebinar.com, use code webinar25 to save 25%. And I'm going to post that here because I forgot to do it earlier. All right, there we go. Let's see. Steve said, I was told that Farxiga costs $600. Is there another medication like Farxiga that's cheaper for people on Medicare?
No. Farxiga is a diuretic. It prevents you from absorbing sugar back into your body, and so you pee it out. But when it goes out in the urine, it has to take water with it. So it's also a diuretic. So it's used for other reasons too. And they're really all in the same. The other medications like that are all in the same boat. So so the best thing to do is to go on phase one instead. That's like $25 one time, $25, and you get benefit for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. John says, what herbs can I take to help unclog my 4 arteries?
Okay. Herbs to unclog arteries. Wow. Okay. If you have 4 arteries clogged, I'm coronary arteries, or is that leg arteries? Okay. So here's what unclogs arteries, and if it's clogged from atherosclerosis, like cholesterol deposits, calcium deposits, all that, then the only things that have been shown to reverse that is being on a very low fat, high fiber diet. And that's okay on phase 1 of the program. If you look at your free foods, you can have all the broccoli and cauliflower and spinach and cabbage and celery, peppers, cucumbers, avocado, well, not avocados in that case. Anyway, all that list of free foods, you could do that and have a very low fat, low carb diet. And so that would get rid of your diabetes. And that has been shown to unclog arteries. So if you look at the Dean Ornish diet or the Esselstyn diet, or the McDougall diet, those are all very high fiber, low fat diets that have been proven in studies to unclog clogged arteries that have atherosclerosis.
All right. Gary says, I'm on 1,000 milligrams of metformin twice a day and half of a 5 milligram glipizide at night. My morning glucose has always been in the 200 area and A1C around 7 or 8. I started cutting out sugar as much as possible and started cytochroma about a month ago. I'm getting readings in the morning under 100 for the first time in my life, and about 5 days out of the week, it's under 100, and a couple days around 120. I'm going for my A1C next week, and I'm excited to see what it is. I'll let you know.
Oh, good. I'll be excited to know too. That's really good.
That is
good work.
Great.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Good job. It's hard to cut out sugar, guys. It's not an easy thing to do. And we talk about that a lot, but you can do it. You can do hard things. Okay. Grace said, I used the diabetes kit a couple of years ago, fell off, haven't yet started up again. Lost 35 pounds on it over 6 months ago, though. That's awesome. Oh, I remember talking with Grace. All right. Okay. Rianne says, I picked up my meds on February 19th, but I lost them. My blood sugars have been 165 without the meds. I haven't taken it since the 17th, as I think I threw them out. Well, it'd be a good time to start the diabetes solution kit then.
There you go. That's what I would do.
Maybe it was meant to be. I don't know if I can say that, but I did. All right. Let's see. Brigida says Jardiance and Farxiga cause urinary tract infection.
Yes, they
can. Is that
can.
a common thing you hear? Okay.
Yeah, they can.
All right. Yeah, that's always a bummer.
Okay. Because you're peeing out sugar, so the sugar's sitting in your bladder, and sugar grows bacteria. So yeah, they can lead to that.
Okay. John from Washington, 20 plus year diabetic, 2.5 months on the diabetes solution kit and Synachroma. 4 months ago, my A1C was 8.9. Last week, A1C was 6.2. Doctor was happy. And my requested metformin was reduced from 2,000 milligrams a day to 1,500. Progress, but testing carb increase occasionally shows my daily glucose increase. Still working on it.
Good work. After 20 years. That is remarkable that you could get it down that low. So by the way, 6.2 is non-diabetic. So you can officially say that you cured your diabetes. Good work.
So cool. Yes. Okay. Oh, Brienne was asking about the meds that she had lost. She said, should I wean myself off meds?
Well, no, you're already off. You're already off.
You
lost them.
Blood sugar is average of, go ahead.
And if your blood sugar is 160 with and off your medications, then yeah, just do the phase 1 instead.
Awesome. Okay, Eric, what is the current version of the diabetes solution kit? Good question. Let me look for that while I answer your next question. A1C 4 to 6 is normal. In the range means you are under control. Some say under 7 or 7.1. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that's that's like endocrinology talk. That's not like real. So a real normal hemoglobin A1C is from 4 to 5.5, essentially 5.6. And the ideal range is in the high 4s or low 5s, somewhere in there. So 5.0, I always tell people just shoot for 5.0. That's about where you want to be.
All right. I just posted 10th edition is the one that's up right now. Okay, Bob Arnold, another success story. Joined after my doctor wanted me to start insulin. A1C was 8.2 when I started in November. A1C reading was 5.6 this week.
Wow. Okay, that he's not even pre-diabetic. Officially, he is non-diabetic and not pre-diabetic. That is really awesome. From 8 to 5.6. That's amazing. Good work.
Yeah, this is awesome. You guys, this is so cool. Okay, Sandra Hall, heard of metabolism reset? Have you ever heard of that?
No. As like a program, a special program, metabolism reset, I'm not familiar.
I don't know. Okay. Vilo and Barbie said, best $25 ever spent. Okay. What is the best diabetic pill I can use to replace Farxiga? I have been having UTIs.
Oh, yes. Okay. So the best thing you could replace it with is phase 1 of the program. So just start phase 1 and cut out the carbs and have a less than 20 gram carbohydrate diet. I think that's the best way.
Yes. That's what a lot of the people right now will tell you too. Here's a good question from Ed. Why should I not use metformin?
Well, that's a really good question, because I'll tell you, there are a lot of people who are in the anti-aging group that use metformin. They don't have diabetes, but because metformin inhibits an enzyme that uses blood sugar and forces your body to burn fat, then as you're burning fat, you're using, remember we talked about a couple of weeks ago about how you have 2/3 of your energy comes from fat. And that's mostly when you're not doing things. If you're exercising, it actually goes to 50-50. But anyway, just to make it simple, 2/3 of your energy from fat, 1/3 from sugar. And then metformin can increase that to burning more fat and less sugar. And that prevents damage to DNA, and people live longer, prevents cancer. So a lot of anti-aging people are using metformin just on a daily basis to stop the aging process or slow down the aging process. So I have an answer to that too, and that is you're better off fasting periodically than taking metformin for anti-aging. So fasting has, if taking metformin has this much benefit to prevent aging, fasting has this much benefit to prevent aging. It's just tremendously more benefit. So you're better off doing that.
And there's also some research that I think you've even mentioned about berberine in the anti-aging realm as well.
Yeah, similar kind of thing. And it works in a similar way too. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, what else do we have here? Denise says my C-peptide is 2.5. My doctor said that this shows I'm producing insulin, but I don't know how to use this information to lower my blood sugar.
Okay.
Good question.
Good question. Okay. This information is not to help you lower your blood sugar. It is to say that your pancreas is making enough insulin, that you don't need to add extra insulin. You don't need a drug. All of those drugs we were talking about that raise insulin levels, you don't need those. That really all you need to control your blood sugar is phase 1 of the program to make you insulin sensitive, because it's insulin sensitivity that fixes your blood sugar.
All right. Kathy says my blood sugars are in between the high 96, low of 82. Can I go to phase 2? I was on the 3 meds and I have been off them for months. Oh, this is the same thing I said. Sometimes it goes to 103. So 103 was her high.
Yeah. Okay. Well, gosh, that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
If you're in the 80s to 90s and rarely get over 100, that's pretty normal. That's completely non-diabetic. So you'd be able to switch to phase 2 pretty easily. Yeah, that would be good.
Yay, Kathy, keep us updated. That's great. Nice work. Okay. Denise says when I don't take my insulin, my numbers go sky high. Lantus 12.
Okay, Lantus is a long-acting insulin, so that's essentially a 24-hour insulin. 12 units is not a lot, so so it may be that your pancreas is not making insulin. So you need a C-peptide test, and the reason for that is you can't do an insulin test because you're injecting insulin, and the insulin analogs that you're injecting will affect the test in different ways, depending which test they use. So the C-peptide test will only measure what your pancreas is making for insulin. So if your C-peptide test then is like less than 1 or less than 0.8, I think it is, then you're not making enough insulin. And then you have to deal with it the way we discussed earlier about the person that doesn't have enough insulin. But if your C-peptide test is like over 3, then that tells us that you're putting out a ton of insulin and it's just not working. So then you start looking, am I resistant to insulin? Do I have insulin antibodies? Because that may be the reason. And that may be why you need that Lantus to prevent your blood sugar from going up.
Okay. Really good question from Jeffrey. Are your answers the same for all ages? I'm 70 and low carb diet makes me very weak.
The answer, the ultimate answer for that is yes. Whether you're a 5-year-old with a new onset type 2 diabetes, or you're an 80-year-old with a new onset type 2 diabetes, the answer is still the low carbohydrate diet. So, well, it doesn't have to be the only way, but what happens is if you've had this for a long period of time, you're going to tend to get hypoglycemic episodes. And low blood sugar causes you to feel weak and fatigued and sweaty and nausea. And I just got to go to bed. I feel horrible. I got to eat something. All of that stuff happens from low blood sugar. And you're more likely to get low blood sugar if it's been going on for a long period of time. And you have high insulin that blocks you from using fat for energy. And so, you're only using 1/3 fat, 2/3 sugar, your sugar drops down and you're just hypoglycemic. So, and that takes a while. It takes the research from 3 to 9 days before you get your insulin sensitivity back. So it can take a while. So you may want to decrease it gradually, like instead of just going right to the 20-gram carbohydrate diet, go to 40 grams, and then go to 30 grams, and then go to 25 grams, and then 20, just decrease it gradually so that your body can become more accustomed to having less sugar and you can start burning more fat. You can just do it gradually instead of all at once.
All right. A couple questions. Well, first of all, Kathy said, thank you. It's because of your book. I went from 140 pounds to 117.
Wow. That's amazing. Good work.
Yes. That is awesome.
See,
Kathy, I'm so happy for you.
lowering insulin is the real thing. This is the real deal. This isn't like, some fad weight loss program. This is what really works. If you drop your insulin levels, then you're going to just burn fat easily and it's going to come off.
So good. Okay, couple questions about fasting. So Michael says you talk a lot about it. What time frame do you recommend to be beneficial? And are we talking a day a week or twice a week or intermittent? What's
Okay.
best?
Can I just say the upfront, the more the better. So just start with that. The more the better. The more you fast, the better. And there's no way around that. And even like animal studies, when fasting means an empty stomach, right? So they took them off food. And if they took them off food and water, they did better than when they just took them off food. So having an empty stomach is the best thing you can do for your health. Now, you can't have that forever, right? At some point, you gotta eat something. At some point, you gotta put water in your stomach, right? So the best way to do that is to minimize the amount you eat as much as possible. So it's better to have one big meal a day than a whole bunch of small meals a day. It's better to have 2 meals a day than to have 3 meals a day. So people who are doing their 1 meal a day, that's actually a great way to do it. The people that have the time restricted eating where they just eat breakfast and lunch and they skip dinner, that's a great way to do it too. The way I do it is I usually do days at a time. So if I do one day, I'll usually start on I eat Saturday afternoon or evening, and then I don't eat till Monday morning. That's a 1 day fast, actually 36 hours or right. Yeah, something like that. But then sometimes I'll do like 7 days, and you always end a fast in the morning, end a fast, at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the best time to do that. So, and the longer the better, the cleanses, the fast that they used to do, and before antibiotics and drugs came about, what's his name? Sinclair Lewis, who is a famous author that wrote The Jungle, also wrote a book called The Fasting Cure. It's a very interesting book. You can get the whole book online. I read the whole thing in a day. So he was curing just about anything, including tuberculosis, for years with just fasting. And they were doing, 19, 20, 30-day fasts. And that was more their typical fasting 100 years ago. So in the modern era, we think, oh, it's horrible to not eat. But, that's not the way life always was. So my answer is the more the better. And however that looks for you, great.
We had another question that may tie into this a little bit. When is the best time to go to bed?
The best time to go to bed is between 9 and 10 o'clock, before 10 o'clock. Because right around 10 o'clock, your pituitary gland releases human growth hormone, and you get a spike of human growth hormone, like 10 times human growth hormone. It's like a huge spike, but just for 10 minutes. And if you pass that up, if you're up after 10 and you get a second wind and go, oh, I'm not even tired, I'll go to bed at midnight, then you just lose it. You just don't get the spike, and you don't repair your body. So you don't go into anabolic mode. That's where we have the 6-10 reset. Stop eating by 6, go to bed before 10.
Good stuff. All right. That is all for today. Dr. Saunders, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This was
Thanks for
really
inviting me.
webinar.
I get invited every single week.
I know. And now you get to go bless your patients. So thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
I'll hang on here for just a minute, guys. We got through most of the questions. I don't know if I can answer any of the other ones that came in. Let's see. Okay, I'm not sure that I can, but I'm going to just quick review a couple things. Again, here's the Diabetes Solution Kit. If you're interested in that, you can find that at bartonwebinar.com. You can also go to bartonnutrition.com. You'll find our supplement, information about our webinars, this book, etc., use code webinar25 to save 25%. So for those of you who are on the webinar, you get a little discount. And what else can I tell you? Oh, our YouTube channel. So the link for our YouTube channel is at bartonwebinar.com. So make sure you go to that, subscribe so you'll get notified anytime these are uploaded. We are on episode 181, which is crazy to me. So we've covered a lot of things. You can go to the YouTube channel and actually just type in, maybe you want to know something about fasting or that 610 reset that Dr. Saunders was talking about. Just type that in there. It'll pull up all of the webinars that we've done on that. So lots of good information there. And I think, yeah, we're even working some more on that. So yeah, we're almost up to date. I think we just don't have last week's up yet. Maybe we do. It might be up. But they're coming. So be sure to subscribe to that. Come back next week. Ask any questions that we didn't get to. And we just thank you guys so much for joining us. We love doing this. And it's Dr. Saunders' mission to help as many people as he can. So thank you. Have a wonderful day and God bless.